Awesome. Okay. Going to send out another push notification and just kind of give everybody the 411 of what is happening. Oh yeah, I got to check the tropics because we've had system out there. 20%. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yeah? All right, doing a nap cast here. If you're joining us on the Appcast, I'm KSAT meteorologist Sarah Spivey. We've got crews out in Kerrville and Kerr County covering some flooding. The storms that produced that flooding out in Kerrville, they're starting to move into Bexar County, but they're a lot weaker. Now, these storms will probably cause some ponding on the roads for folks who are leaving church or heading out for their Sunday afternoon lunch. You should just, or brunch even, you should just know that there's some ponding on the roads that's possible with these storms as they move into Bexar County. But generally, what we're seeing is the risk here is for flooding right now in Kerr County. We can go ahead and zoom into Kerr County here. You can see that the rain is starting to end in Kerr County, but we still have the risk for flooding. In fact, I can track the end of the rain here. Here's the clearing line, or when the rain ends at least. You can see that it'll be out of the Kerrville area by about 11:30. And that's about the same time we expect some of the rain to be moving into Bexar County. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Here's where that leading edge of the rain is. Again, you can really see how this is just really fallen apart as it's approaching Bexar County. It was much more organized just about an hour ago, and way more organized about 3 hours ago. In fact, we can go ahead and look at a 3-hour loop here. Look how electrified and intense that storm was as it moved into Kerr County. And now we're really just looking at pockets of downpours. In fact, one clear way to see a storm weakening is to look at the lightning strikes and the lightning count. Here's a look at that lightning count 3 hours ago. Let's see how many lightning strikes we had 3 hours ago. We had over 400 lightning strikes 3 hours ago. Now we have close to 80, and that's within that entire frame there. So yes, we still have an electrified storm, but it is weakening quite a bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's currently happening. Again, these showers are going to be pushing into Bexar County here. We've got some heavy rain falling near Canyon Lake. I can turn on the radar that's a little bit closer to these areas near Canyon Lake, Bernie, Fair Oaks Ranch, Scenic Oaks, Leon Springs just starting to get some rain, Tarpley, Bandera, Pipe Creek, and of course the areas that were just so ravaged by the flooding, seeing additional rainfall. And I want to just paint the picture for you. First, we've got low water crossings that are flooding. And that's why we have a flash flood warning in effect until 11:30. There's a lot of water on the roads. That's for pretty much the entire county, Kerr County. And then we've got a river flood warning from Hunt through Ingram out toward Kerrville. And that's because the Guadalupe River is on the rise. And before anybody gets very, very nervous, while I want to mention that this is an intense situation, we're seeing the river rise, this is nowhere near the rise that we saw on the 4th of July. In fact, we can take a look at the forecast for the river itself. This is the river at Hunt, the Guadalupe River at Hunt. I can go ahead and refresh this and get the latest data. Here we go. We've got the river rising at Hunt, and it's expected to crest at about 13 feet by 4 o'clock this afternoon. Now, that is still in moderate flood stage. That would result on the river going over 39 there at Hunt. But the peak last week was at 37 feet. It was 15 feet above major flood stage last week. And in contrast, it's going to be 10 feet below major flood stage today, later on today. And we can look at the downstream gauges. Let's take a look at the Guadalupe at Kerrville. You can see that it's not even expected to flood, really go above action stage in Kerrville this afternoon. So that is some good news there for you. And we actually have our very own Devin Karp out there in Kerr County right now. Devin has been talking about perhaps what is the biggest impact to the rain. And the biggest impact to the rain over the Guadalupe is that they've had to pause recovery and cleanup efforts today. Devin, are you able to join us live from Kerrville? We'll stand by for Devin. I'll wait until he's ready. He'll join us when he's there. We go. Hi, Devin. I can hear you. You're on the live stream.
Hey. Okay, hi Sarah. Yeah, so we just finished putting up some more air in our tire, making sure we had gas.
Turn left onto West Water Street.
We already have the directions going, as you can hear from us. Yes, making sure that we're following some of these locations that you sent us here. We're pretty close to where we were before, right near Town Creek and Shriner Road. We're starting to make our way over here. This is West Water Street. So thankfully, if you guys can kind of notice here from the windshield right now, maybe here, let me go ahead and put up our roof cam as well.
Yeah, the rain is really lightened up
started to lighten up a little bit. Yes, it's been some good news. Again, it's been ebbing and flowing, so we'll really have to see what ends up happening as we go throughout the morning here. But we have gotten to a lighter spot. We've seen a lot more cars start to drive through the area as we've been around here. First responders have been setting up more of those barricades, blockades as we start to make our way through the rest of town here. Okay, let me see really quick. Okay, we're about to be turning on to Circle Road over there. That's
Devin,
the one way.
why don't you check in? Why don't you check in with me when you're ready, when you got a shot that you feel like is important for us to look at? I'm glad to hear that the rain is lightening up up there. That's what it looks like on the radar. So check in with us. Just give me a holler. I'll be here. Looking forward to seeing what you're seeing out there. Thanks so much, Devin. Okay, yeah, so Devin was live earlier today, and they had to pause those recovery efforts in a large way out there because of the rain. Of course, people's safety comes first, and you can imagine that this community is just traumatized by rain and thunder and lightning. And so I want to put your minds at ease. This initial band of rain that's moving through San Antonio here is not going to cause major flooding. And meteorologist Justin Horn just walked in. This initial band of rain that's moving into Bexar County is not going to cause any issues with flooding in the immediate term. And it'll be near Leon Valley at around 11:30, San Antonio downtown area by 11:45, New Braunfels by 11:26. This entire system has weakened significantly since it moved through Kerrville. The one thing we're concerned about is redevelopment later today. So in the initial concerns here in San Antonio, we're not necessarily worried too much about flooding within the next couple of hours. But there is still a flood watch in place through tonight because redevelopment is possible, and that could lead to localized flooding. We've already seen flood warnings up in Kerr County. I can show you in the futurecast kind of what one of the potential outcomes is for development a little bit later on today after this initial weaker band moves through early. We could see later tonight some redevelopment as our weather pattern becomes a little bit more stagnant in the overnight hours, and that's where I would be concerned for the risk for some flooding. Not initially, not over the next couple of hours, but later on tonight. They may even extend that watch into the evening hours. And the reason why we're seeing the rain is because we've got this low pressure system just hanging out over central Texas. Now this one is different from the one that moved through on July 4th because this low pressure system, at least it's moving. It's moving, and it's going to be moving out of here within the next 24 hours or so. So that is a big positive thing for us. But we could have had it a lot worse in parts of the hill country earlier this morning, because as we take a wider view, I want to show you just how much rain they had across central Texas in the overnight hours. This was a very close call. I'm going to turn off the warnings here and the lightning so you can get a clearer picture. This was a very close call. This bullseye of rain, which fell near San Saba, and here's the Colorado River, this area saw about 9 to 10 inches of rainfall. Imagine if that had just moved a little bit farther south to areas in Kerr County that had dealt with the flooding. If it just moved about 40 to 50 miles south and parked itself over that area, we could have been dealing with another major flood stage of the Guadalupe River. Now, the Colorado River is flooding at the moment. That's going to empty into Lake Buchanan and eventually into Lake Travis. So these areas are dealing with that major flooding into this afternoon, into this midday hour. Meanwhile, as we look at the last 3 hours here, let's see, there we go, last 3 hours, you can really clearly see that the rain has weakened significantly as it's moving into San Antonio. It was very organized through parts of the hill country, including Junction and even Kerrville, and now it's weakening as it's heading toward San Antonio. It looks like the outflow boundary is winning out a little bit there with these showers. But we're just now starting to see some heavier rain on the northwest side. If you're joining us in Leon Springs, Scenic Oaks, Fair Oaks Ranch, Gray Forest, San Geronimo, the rain is starting, and I don't want you to be concerned too much about flash flooding. Ponding on the roads is entirely possible, and that is a possibility. But generally here in San Antonio, we're just going to be dealing with some of the light rain. Yeah, so meteorologist Justin Horn just walked in the building. He's got a basketball game later today. Gonna win?
Of course.
Yeah, of course he is. That's where he gets his hype. Okay, so yeah, we're just dealing with some good spotty rain right now. We're waiting for a shot from Devin when he feels good about it, but you could really see that the river was starting to rise in Kerrville, not nearly as high as it was a week and a half ago, but still something we're going to be keeping our eye on. In a weird twist of irony, we still need rain. Here's a look at the drought monitor. We still need rain after those devastating floods, not necessarily in West Kerr County. That area doesn't need more rain, but we do need more rain in Hondo, Devine, Sabinal, even San Antonio could use some more rain. The groundwater is still pretty low. Aquifer is still pretty low. Stream flow is still pretty low. And so any additional rain is actually going to help us here in Bexar County. We just do not want that flooding, and we certainly don't want anything like what we saw on July 4th. Let me show you one particular forecast model. This is the potential output of rainfall. The reason why we're so concerned later on today for the potential for flooding is this bullseye right here. Now, it's not necessarily going to happen over southern Medina County. This bullseye could happen anywhere within the area that's under a flood watch. But that's one of the reasons why we're so concerned. I'm going to send you to radar here for just a second. Clear off our screen as we're watching this rain move into Bexar County. Again, the good news is here, even the lightning has gone down substantially. There's hardly any lightning with this. These are just run-of-the-mill showers. As I mentioned, Justin Horn walked in the building. We're going to chat a little bit about the forecast. I'll leave you with the radar, and I'll be back on the live stream soon. Hey, Devin, can you hear me on the live stream?
Hey there, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Where are you at?
Can you hear me,
that
Sarah?
looks like a river close to a low water crossing.
Yeah, so this is right over here at Morris in Town Creek. I want to go ahead and show you here. So we've been able to make it through to this spot here. No closure around us for the moment, but if we go up here to the camera, let's see here if we can zoom in to show y'all. So it's not quite getting over the road yet, but you can still see the Whitewater Rapids coming through. It's getting close here. Can we pan to the left a little bit? Just so we can see the road. Yeah, so it's right there.
Oh yeah, it's lapping right
still
up
coming
over the road.
through. So I know Town Creek has been one of the areas that they've been keeping an eye on. So honestly, for all intents and purposes, it would probably not be a good idea to be on Town Creek as you start to make your way through here. I know that first responders would also be keeping an eye on Morris. We're right here close. We saw something pretty similar to there. Town Creek and Shriner Street has been a big area. We're going to try to keep making our way around here, especially as the river curves around. That's where we're really starting to pay attention to where it's intersecting with the roads over here, especially around the Kerrville area. So far, we saw just a lot of water on the roads in Ingram, but nothing of too much concern over there for the moment. Once again, first responders are not having search and rescue operations right now. They are on standby, but they are on hold right now. They're asking all volunteer groups to stop operations and get away from the river. They don't want to endanger anyone's safety or cause further unnecessary harm for those first responders who might have to go out and save someone who didn't listen to that before. They say for all the neighbors, residents here in the area, stay high and dry. Don't travel unless you have to go across some of these roads here.
Yeah.
It's not as concerning as it was for the July 4th flood that we did see, but they are keeping an eye on the rain for this here. So this is just one of the examples of how it's getting close to being over the road, but not quite yet. But it is starting to lap at the top of the concrete right there. So just make sure that wherever you're headed, try to stick to some of the higher ground roads, especially in the Kerrville area, if you can. And of course, keep an eye out. We've seen, I mean, probably 5 or 6 different first responder crews going around with those blockades, the big orange cones, the signs saying don't go this way, turn around. Please listen to those. They're there for a reason, especially because you don't want to be in a situation where water can carry your car, because it can happen pretty fast with not nearly as much water as you'd think. We saw a lot of that during some of the Parenvital flooding and flooding in San Antonio that we had about a month ago as well. So we're just keeping an eye on some of these conditions out here, Sarah.
That's perfect. Thank you. And yes, the rain is kind of starting to end for you guys. I would say probably Kerrville area would be done with the rain within about 30 minutes or so. And so then hopefully those first responders can get back there. Now, the one thing I will caution against is just because the rain stops, it doesn't mean that the river is not going to continue to rise. The river will probably continue to rise through at least 1, 2 o'clock this afternoon, especially near Hunt. So thanks, Devin, for being out there, being our eyes on the ground. Again, we've got some rain moving into San Antonio, but this rain is not going to be much of an issue for us. Just some free car washes, some free watering of the lawns for folks this afternoon. The concern for flooding, in my opinion, for San Antonio is really shifting into the evening hours more so than in the immediate. So we're going to continue to keep the radar up here for you for a little while. And if we need to, we'll jump right back on the stream. You'll get a push notification right to your phone.